Thank you for taking a few minutes to watch this overview of CCIS, our computerized condo information system. It's the tool that we use to collect requests from our co-owners and then manage them and handle them and make sure that we're taking care of those customers, because clearly they're your customers and our customers. So let's go. Within CCIS, we have 3 different types of people or roles, and this controls what they can see and what they can do. One of the roles is a requester, and that is the co-owner, so each of our co-owners logs in individually and they can submit requests, which we'll talk about in a moment. So they're called the requesters. They can only see their own requests. Then there's management, which is our property manager and our board members. And as you can imagine, even though they are a co-owner, each of them, they have additional privileges to oversee and have more control within the system. And they can pretty much see everything. And then there are vendors, which is you. And you primarily help us with building, property repairs, landscaping, and so forth. And as you can imagine, you have somewhat limited visibility and control in CCIS, but we hope that you have maximum control over the things that pertain to you, and you will not be able to see other vendors' work. Let's dig in. So those are the people and the different kinds of roles. And then there are records and transactions. So I'm going to go ahead and briefly, you can imagine that with 190 co-owners, we don't want 190 people connecting with you directly. So the meat in the middle is our management company with escalation to board members when additional approval is needed. So there are records and transactions between the co-owners and management, and then they take that and then they work with you directly, our vendor. And we try to minimize, not when it's not necessary. I mean, there are times when it's necessary, but we try to minimize direct contact between the co-owners and you, the vendor. So I briefly mentioned when our co-owner, in this example, I'm using Nancy. When Nancy has a problem, she submits a request in CCIS that describes what her problem is. Then that goes to our management as it's shown up there. And now management says to you, hey, will you please check this out and get back to us? So that is referred to as an inquiry. And notice the right pointing arrow, that means we're sending it to you. So we're sending you an inquiry or a request for estimate. And as you can imagine, you respond back to us with that estimate of timing, somewhat the description of the work, and what that will cost. And assuming that we are in agreement, we will then convert that to a work order. And when I say we, I mean the management company. And ultimately, that is our agreement with you to say, please do it and we'll pay for it. But we are saying within the confines of your estimate, if you need to go outside of that estimate, there will have to be some additional communication back and forth. And when you've completed your work, that really kind of changes the status of this record to an invoice. So you're saying the work is done, send me a check. And so finally we close it, which is our way of telling you the check is in the mail. And once it's been closed, then the system automatically goes back and sends an invitation for feedback to Nancy and asks her, what did you think of their work? So that is an overview of the CCIS system, specifically how it pertains to you as a preferred vendor. And for further instructions, I invite you to look at the video that refers to or explains the board member approval. I think the video might be 7 minutes long, and at the 4-minute mark, it talks about how and when the board members are involved. So if you want to know that, I encourage you to go there. And then we've also uploaded some videos to show you what these different things look like. So when you find that you've been asked, you've been sent an inquiry, which means we're asking you for an estimate. How do you respond to that? When it's been converted to a work order, how do you act on that? And when you're finished, how do you complete that? And there are a few little options in there, so we'll go over kind of how do you get more information if you need it, and then what are your options to move forward. We hope that you find this helpful. If there's something that we could do that's better or more thorough, please do let us know. Thank you.